In a quaint little town nestled between rolling hills and a tranquil river, there lived a wise old man named Eli. Eli was known throughout the town for his exceptional ability to remain silent in various situations. His silence was not a sign of weakness but rather a manifestation of his profound wisdom. As the years passed, the townspeople came to believe that there was no situation in which Eli should speak, for his silence held immense power. The townspeople often gathered at Eli's small cottage, seeking his counsel and guidance. Eli never turned anyone away, and he never charged for his wisdom. His silence, they believed, held the key to solving their problems and navigating life's complexities. One sunny morning, a young woman named Amelia approached Eli's cottage with a heavy heart. She had been struggling with a decision that had been haunting her for weeks. Amelia knocked gently on the wooden door, and after a few moments Eli opened it with a warm smile. His eyes, though old and wise, held a spark of youthfulness. "Good morning, Amelia," Eli greeted her, inviting her inside. "What brings you here today?" Amelia hesitated for a moment, then began to pour out her troubles. She spoke of a difficult choice she had to make between two paths in her life. She was torn between pursuing a career in the bustling city or staying in the peaceful town she had always called home. Her words were filled with emotion, and tears welled up in her eyes. Eli listened intently, his eyes fixed on Amelia's face. When she finished speaking, he remained silent, deep in thought. The seconds stretched into minutes as Eli's silence enveloped the room. Amelia, initially anxious, began to feel a sense of calm wash over her. She realized that Eli's silence allowed her to reflect on her own words and thoughts. After what felt like an eternity, Eli finally spoke. "Amelia," he said softly, "silence often speaks louder than words. Your heart already knows the answer you seek. Trust in it." Amelia left Eli's cottage that day with a newfound clarity. She had found her answer not in his words, but in the space his silence provided for her own introspection. Word of Eli's remarkable ability to guide people through silence spread far and wide. People came from neighboring towns, seeking his wisdom on various matters. Eli's reputation as the wise old man who spoke through silence continued to grow. One day, a group of young boys decided to put Eli's wisdom to the test. They believed that there must be a situation where even he couldn't stay silent. They decided to challenge him by telling him the most absurd and outrageous stories they could come up with. The boys gathered outside Eli's cottage and took turns sharing their fabricated tales. They spun stories of flying pigs, talking trees, and underwater castles. Eli listened attentively, his expression unwavering. The boys were determined to break his silence, but they soon realized that Eli's silence was unbreakable. Frustrated and defeated, they left his cottage, having learned a valuable lesson about the power of restraint and respect. As Eli continued to help people through their troubles with his silence, a renowned scholar from the city heard about him. Dr. Benjamin Thornton was a man of great knowledge and wisdom but was plagued by a feeling of emptiness and dissatisfaction in his heart. He traveled to the town, determined to seek out Eli and uncover the source of his own inner turmoil. Dr. Thornton arrived at Eli's cottage one evening and was welcomed inside. He began to speak about his vast accomplishments, his prestigious career, and the accolades he had received from his peers. But with each word he uttered, he could feel a growing sense of unease. Eli listened patiently, his eyes never leaving Dr. Thornton's face. When the scholar finished recounting his achievements, he expected Eli to offer some profound insight. However, Eli remained silent. Minutes passed, and the silence grew heavier. Dr. Thornton began to feel uncomfortable under the weight of that silence. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Eli spoke. "Dr. Thornton, sometimes our accomplishments are but empty echoes in the grand scheme of life. True fulfillment comes from within, from understanding our own hearts. Seek not the applause of others, but the contentment of your own soul." Dr. Thornton left Eli's cottage that night with a heavy heart, but also with a newfound sense of purpose. He realized that Eli's silence had forced him to confront the emptiness in his own life and inspired him to embark on a journey of self-discovery. As the years passed, Eli continued to guide people through the power of silence. His reputation spread far and wide, and he became known as the Silent Sage. People from distant lands traveled to seek his wisdom, and he never turned anyone away. One day, a foreign diplomat arrived in town. He had heard of Eli's renowned ability to resolve conflicts through his silence. The diplomat was tasked with negotiating a peace treaty between two warring nations, and he believed that Eli's guidance was the key to success. But Eli's silence was unyielding. The diplomat soon realized that Eli's silence was not a sign of indifference or ignorance. It was a call for reflection and introspection. The diplomat spent hours in Eli's presence, thinking deeply about the consequences of war and the possibility of peace. Late into the night, the diplomat finally spoke, his voice trembling with emotion. "Eli," he said, "your silence has shown me the path to peace. I will return to my homeland and work tirelessly to negotiate a settlement. Your wisdom lies not in your words, but in your ability to awaken the wisdom within others." With that, the diplomat left Eli's cottage, determined to bring an end to the conflict. His commitment to peace was unwavering, and he succeeded in negotiating a historic treaty that brought an end to years of bloodshed. Eli's reputation as a silent sage continued to grow, and his impact on the world extended far beyond the boundaries of the small town. He had shown time and again that there were indeed situations in which silence held the greatest power. As Eli grew older, his health began to decline. The townspeople gathered at his cottage one last time to express their gratitude for his wisdom and guidance. Eli sat in his favorite chair, his eyes filled with a deep sense of contentment. With those final words, Eli closed his eyes and took his last breath, leaving behind a legacy of wisdom that would continue to inspire generations to come. Situations in which one should remain silent, and that the power of silence could be a guiding force in the most challenging of circumstances. The statue depicted Eli sitting in his chair, his eyes closed in meditation, and his hands folded in a gesture of tranquility. At the base of the statue, there was an inscription that read, "In silence, we find wisdom." The town continued to thrive, and the people remembered Eli's teachings whenever they faced difficult decisions or conflicts. They embraced the power of silence, not as a void to be filled with noise, but as a space for introspection and understanding. Over the years, visitors from all corners of the world came to see the statue of the silent sage and to learn from the town's history. They, too, were touched by the story of Eli and the profound impact his silence had on the lives of countless individuals. One such visitor was a young woman named Isabella, who had traveled from a distant land seeking answers to her own inner turmoil. Isabella had been struggling with the pressures of modern life, and she felt overwhelmed by the constant noise and distractions that surrounded her. She stood before the statue of the silent sage, admiring its serene presence. As she gazed at Eli's tranquil expression, she felt a deep sense of peace wash over her. Isabella realized that in the midst of her chaotic world, she needed to embrace the power of silence and reconnect with her inner self. Inspired by her visit, Isabella returned to her homeland and embarked on a mission to spread the wisdom of the silent sage. She founded a center for mindfulness and meditation, where people could learn to find solace and clarity in moments of silence. Her center became a sanctuary for those seeking refuge from the noise of the world, and it thrived as a place of healing and self-discovery. As the years passed, Isabella's work touched the lives of many, just as Eli's wisdom had touched hers. The legacy of the silent sage continued to grow, branching out into the world and reaching people in all walks of life. In the end, Eli's story served as a reminder that there were indeed situations in which silence held more power than words. His life had shown that silence could be a source of guidance, healing, and peace in a noisy and often tumultuous world. And so, the tale of the silent sage continued to be passed down from generation to generation, a timeless story of the profound impact one person's wisdom and silence could have on the lives of many. It was a story that reminded people that sometimes, in the most challenging of situations, the greatest strength could be found in the quietest of moments.